then we'll just get going. Yeah.
Hey, Regina. See, all my friends are coming in.
Yeah. I think we can unmute everyone, and then probably if they want to mute themselves, they can.
Your webinars are always well attended, right, Jyoti? Because you have to actually cut it off at 2025 because a lot of people keep coming.
Unmuted. But this will be a great, I think, group to have a conversation around this. So we should make it as interactive as possible.
Absolutely.
A lot of people have questions around selling these days, especially with Gen AI in the mix.
Yeah. So I think Jyoti doesn't need any introduction, but for the formality's sake, I need to introduce and also to have a record for ourselves also. So good morning or evening, depending on where you're joining us from. So we've got Jyoti Balani joining us. She's the driving force behind Freshriver.ai. Now, Jyoti's company isn't your everyday consultancy. They're all about using smart AI to make big things happen for their clients. But just so happens to be some of the biggest names out there, Jyoti's clients. And with a whopping 25 years in tech and design, Jyoti has been at the helm of projects that not only win awards, but also make a real difference. She's been mixing AI, data, know-how, engineering, and even the social sciences to give brands and their customers something to talk about. But that's not all. Jyoti is known all over the world for her smarts on talking robots, the kind of AI that gets stuff done without fuss, and even the next big thing, that's the Web3. She's the one people listen to at major events, from tech shows in Vegas to fintech gatherings in London. And with the digital world growing faster than ever, she's also putting her head together with other big thinkers in New York to make sure AI does its job without hurting the planet. So get ready to meet the leader who's not just shaping the future of business, but also making sure it's a future we can all look forward to. So ladies and gents, Jyoti Balani. Okay.
Wow, Shashi, that's an amazing introduction. I should take you with me everywhere.
Yeah. So I will first ask you the question, Jyoti, to set the ball rolling, and then I will introduce Sanju and ask him questions too. So Jyoti, at the outset, can you share the key moments in Freshriver.ai's journey that led to the decision to outsource sales operations?
Actually, it began even before I started Freshriver. So Sanju and I met in, I think, my last corporate job. Everybody knows I got out of corporate and I have not looked back since. So when Sanju and I met, I remember him telling me, we were on a call, I think, with the CEO who I worked for. And, Sanju was giving his pitch. And I'm like, how is it possible that you can get meetings? Because it hasn't worked to date, right? With marketing usually being spray and pray and sales teams getting frustrated with, not having the right contacts, things like that. And Sanju said, I don't need to sell you on this. You try it and you see how it goes. I've never looked back since. I have never seen a framework as strong as Sanju's. And Sanju himself comes, and he'll introduce himself. He comes from a corporate background himself, and then exited about 10 years ago. Yeah, and so we are kindred spirit from that perspective. But that is when I saw the real power. And I've been recommending, Sanju and Funnel to everybody who asks you, like, how are you guys getting meetings? And it's not just about meetings. It's really a well thought out process, very smartly done in this day and age where it's very easy for everybody to send emails. In fact, there's spam all over the place. So Shashi really came from seeing is believing, but Sanju, as the leader of the company, really saw how this needs to get done. And the model's been remarkable, very, very impressive with the team that he's built over the last 10 years. So for me, it was, the eyes closed. I don't need to worry. In the last 5 years, Sanju and his team have helped us grow tremendously. So very, very happy with it. And we're here to share with everybody because I think there's a lot of confusion out in the market on how to sell in this age of the exponential age is what they're calling it.
Yeah, Jyoti, fantastic opening And I'd like to know before and after, Jyoti, exactly. Like, what were the challenges you faced before you partnered with Sanju, and what happened after?
So before I learned about Sanju's business model and how he does things, it was traditional marketing. Buy lists, clean lists, go to Zoom info. It was such a headache. And I've been in marketing myself for 5 years before I exited. And I saw that pain, when companies want to build inside Salesforce, and there's an army of poor recent graduates sitting outside, the sales team's offices, banging away on the phone. Very, very painful. And it comes to realize that selling is an art only once you get the meeting with the right decision maker of the right company for what you want, what you have to sell to them. But the pain was just unbearable. And then getting blacklisted, this is a big one. When I joined that last company I was at, the sales team explained to me how they'd been blacklisted by different domains because they were buying lists and blasting it out. Once I met Sanju, I told the team, actually, when I arrived, and I said, stop doing that because you cannot recover from it, the algorithms that do email delivery. So we've gone from a real painful process that I'd seen growing up in marketing, leading teams, in saying you've got to make it human. And human all the way through, and adding tech when it's needed as a tool. You can't take, it's like being in a flea market. That's what I sort of akin it to, right? Everybody's selling their wares. Everybody sort of scream at each other, on top of their voices saying, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. That is literally what is happening in most places and was happening before, I met MDN and Sanju, now called Funnel. I keep saying MDN because they were MDN before I met them, before they turned Funnel. So really, it has been a dramatic shift. And then finding the highest quality people to talk to, because nobody at the other end wants to talk to folks that, the wrong thing. The funniest thing happens is when people try to sell me the stuff that I'm doing. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, anybody can buy lists and blast it out. Anybody can go to Zoom info. Even AI was tried, X.AI, which I think has closed down since, to set up meetings, for example, right? So AI is a tool, technology is a tool, but at the end of the day, you got to be smart about being human. Otherwise, we've gone from a process of everybody in the chain getting frustrated, the customer, the leads getting frustrated, saying, I don't need my inbox filled with this, and mine is all constantly filled, right? To the sales teams, to the marketing teams, to CEOs of companies that are saying, well, what is going on? We're spending so much money on marketing. Nothing is coming. What is a qualified lead, and all those acronyms? I'm like, I have forbade my team. We don't talk, excuse me, metrics either. We talk about who is the right person that we need to reach, who is looking for what you need to sell. It's as simple as that. And the pathway is so complicated. People have made it too complicated. And I've seen this over and over and over again. My partners, even peers of mine, they continue to do the same spray and pray. On LinkedIn, when I did the post, I've actually stopped going to LinkedIn, believe it or not, because all I get all day long are people trying to sell to me. Oh, I saw you recommended for that I connect. Would love to expand my network. I'm like, really? Do you think I'm sitting here doing nothing but waiting for people to connect to me so I can count up my followers? It's just insanity, right? So hopefully that sort of does a before and after picture. And I think the before picture is where a lot of people are still feeling that pain. That's what we're here to talk about. It's like, there is another way.
Jyoti, sorry if I could just interject. You are so right. Two of the companies that I'm consulting with now, they're just trying to sell like they used to 8 years ago. And I'm telling them it's not going to work, guys. It's not going to work. And one other thing that you said that resonated with me was you have to be more personal now than ever. Yeah. I think that first. And the age-old, what problem are you solving for these people? Right. Those two things and are paramount, in my opinion.
100%, Regina. Very well said. That's exactly right.
Now,
so Shashi, you heard from Regina now as well, right? There's bad stuff going on to date.
Yeah, so I'd like to hear from Sanju too. And before talking to Sanju, let me just introduce him briefly. He's the entrepreneurial force behind Funnel.ai, a company that's all about connecting businesses with the right tech to boost their sales. With Sanju at the helm, they've helped over 500 clients rake in a collective $2 billion and more. And Sanju isn't new to the game. He's the same guy who set up Moving the Needle, or MTN, a company that has been on a tear since 2013. And they're doing something different over there, getting paid only after they deliver on the promise of setting up successful sales meeting. And this is something really unique. And so from a tiny team, he's grown MDN to a 250, 300 probably now, strong multinational presence. And his mission is just to put India on the map, not just for tech skills, but for sales prowess, convincing companies in US and UK to outsource their sales processes to India. And he's making headway, one meeting at a time. So Sanju, here's my question for you. What was Funnel's approach in understanding and aligning with Freshriver's unique business needs? You know, what made you tick with Freshriver, in short?
You don't come across a lot of people who actually believe that the basics work. Jyoti is one of those rare human beings out there who believes that there are shortcuts that you can take at certain times, but there are certain things that have to be done the right way. For example, sales. So, there was a good old time when if the salesperson was recruited, the salesperson treated the contacts that he or she had with a lot of respect. I can't imagine a great sales guy buying list and spraying emails to see something will stick. So then why does marketing have to do it that way? So that was the question that we were trying to address. Why don't we just replicate what an honest salesperson would do if he or she had all the time in the world? So Moving the Needle started off as a company that, and it continues to, still stick to the basic process of true sales. So we do not believe in sending reaching out to a million people and then hoping, something out there, somebody will respond positively and stuff like that. So even today, when, people like Jyoti are actually rare, most of the people believe that it is better to automate. It is better to send, it's a numbers game. No, it's not a numbers game. You talk to the right people at the right time, and 99% of the time, they would either say a yes, the best answer that the salesperson can get, or the second best answer that the salesperson can get, no. Either ways, you are actually making progress. And that is the soul of Funnel. That is the soul of Moving the Needle. And that's the reason we probably have customers, including Jyoti and others, for whom we have been able to do, for some customers, we do as many as 100 meetings in a month. So there are large teams for them. We are now about, like, Shashi mentioned, we are about 375 people as on date. And all of us doing or sticking true to the process of real sales, not taking shortcuts, not ever going ahead and buying a list from ZoomInfo or any of those companies and then putting it into a top of the funnel and then just spraying and praying. So I think that's what made the difference. And when Jyoti and I started working together, Jyoti was one of those few people who actually understood that, yes, this process is what actually will work. And it could also be because of the fact that, at the company she was working previously, the results that they were getting from the automated or the spray and pray approach was not that great. Domains getting blacklisted, like she mentioned. So, the approach that we take is to do it the true way, do it the way that actually a salesperson would do, a real honest salesperson. And that's what the soul of Funnel is today.
Okay, Sanju, actually, your strategy is basically, pay per sales meeting, and how did it work with Jyoti? And Jyoti, I need real figures. Actually, my audience would be interested in what were the real figures and how did you exactly measure the success?
I'll let Sanju go first.
I think for Jyoti, we have done probably about 300 or 350 or more than that probably. Pretty much CXO director level meetings with companies that are really large. And now we are focusing, our entire campaign is actually focused on $1 billion strategy. So we've reached out to companies at CXO level people, what companies that are doing $1 billion+ in revenue. And we are able to get those successful meetings from the CXOs by using this old this old-fashioned approach, I would rather call it, the approach in which you don't take a shortcut, you actually understand the data, you understand, like Regina was mentioning, you got to reach out to people who really want that solution. See, sending an email or making a call and having a false sense of security that I have made a call, I've sent an email, something is going to happen, is not the way sales or marketing is supposed to work. Sales and marketing is supposed to work where you have a buyer out there who is either a decision maker or an influencer. You understand the person's profile. You read through the person's profile, understand the pain points that the person or the challenges that the person is experiencing as of now, and then reach out with a solution if it meets his or her needs. Otherwise, just don't bother. Why send another email to somebody, and somebody at Jyoti's level or the other CEOs will say, why the hell is somebody spamming my inbox? I would rather just be, one stupid email less is better for my inbox. So I think that's probably the success that Funnel has experienced over the years is primarily because of that.
Yeah, Jyoti, so about the numbers and.
Yeah, so we started from zero. Okay, and I still remember January 2019 is when the campaign kicked off. And we started getting meetings March.
Yep.
We were getting 7 to 8 meetings with the right decision makers every month up until we changed our strategy, maybe 4 or 5 months ago to
about
$1
6
billion.
Towards the mid of last year. So 6-7 months, Jyoti. Yeah, the $1 billion
right,
strategy.
6-7 months, right? To that point, I was speaking to over 300 decision makers. Just think about those numbers. Okay, this is over a period of 5 years. They were the right people. They were taking our calls for 2 reasons. And I get on a call. So think about it this way, right? The MDN team at the time of Funnel, the team, the way they model works, would invite me to a meeting with the right lead. I would get on the call and they would tell me 2 things. Okay, one, they loved the way they were approached. And I'm not kidding you. For those of you who know me, I don't make this stuff up. I'm pretty transparent about it. They will say, is Diana going to join us? Diana is one of our campaigners, right? Is Diana going to join us? But no, she's not available for this meeting, right? And 2, they said, this is something I want to learn about. So obviously we're in the AI field, but you could be in any field. I mean, the customers that Funnel has got is across industries, from testing software to AI to all sorts. So this is not a very specific, like, oh, it only works. It's B2B. So let's make that clear, right? So it's B2B. They would come in, and AI was too early. As everybody knows, right? AI is now taking off. I've sort of spent 5 years in it early days, and it's paying off. But that's where early days people were getting on the calls to learn what AI was. Okay, so I was very easily able to have a conversation instead of worrying about the fact that we're getting blacklisted, so on and so forth. Okay, so numbers, 5 years, 350 meetings and growing. 6-7 months ago, what I learned from those 300 or so meetings was that our target audience, because of the way AI works, lies with companies that have at least $1 billion in revenue and above, because that's a proxy we use for data. But see, this conversation cannot happen if you're down in the dungeons of numbers game, of spraying and praying. Like, you're spending all your energy on, trying to harness, how many, meetings, etc. I simply get on, and I learned so much. We were able to make decisions faster on the fact that, okay, let's now pivot. And we also did a lot of testing.
Absolutely.
So we tested, for an example, I got women-owned certification 2021. So I turned around to Sanju and I said, hey, look, let's try and talk to the heads of vendor diversity at these companies. This was before the $1 billion cut that we did, right? We ran the campaign, and I learned from that one very critical thing, which everybody, I think, should be maybe surprised about. So at these enterprises, vendor diversity folks have zero control or influence over buying decisions. I learned this through actually having the conversation. I was like, I feel like we're a market research as well, right? Some of them would try, these vendor diversity directors, leaders, VPs. They were senior people, because we don't talk to anybody except director and above. That's Funnel's model, right? So I learned from that talking to heads of vendor diversity is useless, even though you've got a woman-owned thing. So that whole thing said, okay, we know that's not the pathway. But all the meetings we were getting were not because we were woman-owned. It was because we had the right offer for the right person. Or they would turn around. This is even rarer. And because every week we've been meeting since January 2019, every week we've been getting on the call with Sanju and Shiva, who's the lead for our account. And we would go through who's responding, who's not responding. We're taking care, like Sanju said, doing it the good old fashioned way, saying, how many people want to talk to us? How many people are saying, hey, I'm not the right person, but let me introduce you to somebody else on my team. Who would do that? Just think about it. If somebody came at you spammingly, you're like, you know what? You're coming at me. It's not my job. I'm just going to delete. Worse, put you in junk, which is another thing we'll talk about in a minute. Getting put into the junk folder tells the algorithms that you're spamming people. Okay, so just put that in your back pocket there. So when we would get on these calls, they would tell us either, hey, I want to learn more about what you're doing, or I will pass you on to somebody else. This is how things went up until 6 months ago. And we were getting meetings with, directors and VPs of mid to large size companies. Okay, so that's all the conversation we were having. When we switched 6 months ago to the $1 billion revenue and above, and of course, what OpenAI did, played a role, because all of a sudden everybody knows what conversational AI is or what generative AI is, right? Whereas I was spending time educating people before the masses knew what it was, right? So in November 2022, when OpenAI did what they did with ChatGPT, all of a sudden we were getting meetings with managing directors and then C-levels. And in the last, I think, 3 months, we've had CEOs of $1 billion and above companies show up on my call.
Wow.
If you don't call that a metric of success, I don't know what you call success, right? To me, that is a testimony of the teamwork, right? And the partnership, taking the model Funnel has got with obviously what we sell. And of course, markets mature, things get bigger. That's just the way markets work, right? But for a small company like ours to be able to start from zero, learn what's happening and navigate the market, to me, it's not about numbers. Our meetings went down from, I think, 8 to 4.
Yeah.
Obviously, because we cut out the market, but that's not the market for our service.
We ever wanted to go. Yeah.
Our market is, but we wouldn't have known that until we had learned from that process, right? You can't be selling everything to everybody. So when I see that, to me, that's clear. And, we will be investing more in this process, because to me, it's proof is in the pudding, not the number of calls you make. It reminds me of the dialing for dollars. You guys remember that? Sales guys dialing for dollars. In my corporate life, I wasn't part of sales and marketing. I was part of product. And I would hear the sales leaders who would take my product and go, oh, I have to make like 100 calls by the end of the week. It's like, that just sounds crazy and exhausting, right? How many people will put it down? Then it depends on your charm. So spraying and praying is the equivalent of dialing for dollars on phone lines to email, but even bigger and, more, there's more confusion, and it's a very crowded space because everybody's got the same email chain that you're putting it through. So how are they going to pick who to talk to, right? And I'm not saying, we're the only ones doing the work that we do in the AI space. Look at Microsoft, look at all these big guys, right? But we get the meetings. Oh, and on top of that, these C-levels are telling us what our competitors are doing, which is, the cherry on top of the cake, because they had an amazing experience from start to the finish, to the point where we take over, right? So it's like a relay race. Sanju's team get us to an amazing experience, back to the good old respectful approach with sales, and that takes human contact, right? We don't do, the very first thing I was worried about when I met Sanju, like, Sanju, how many emails are you guys going to send? Like, I don't want to come across as a spammy company, because your brand is in the hands of either your inside sales teams or partners or whoever you give it to. A lot of people don't realize that. Don't give that power away if you don't understand how they work. We spend hours, like, I wanted to understand how Sanju's model works, and he was very open about it, which is the part I liked. And I said, nowhere in this process should our brand be hurt. And their model has always been like, do not hurt the brand, right? To the approach of language used, to the number of touch points, to make sure that they're considerate of the lead's time, right? If somebody says, I don't have time for this, come back to me. Okay, we will talk to you 6 months later. I'm not going to start, keep hammering you. So long-winded way, but hopefully that sets the context, Shashi, to the question that you asked. Qualitative and quantitative.
Thank you, Jyoti. That was much more than just numbers. I mean, it really opened my perspective, Fantastic. But Sanju, what is it that, what are the misconceptions that businesses are usually having instead of adopting this method? Is it that they don't know about it, or what is it that's hindering them to adopt?
I think, in my opinion, it is difficult. It is not easy. So that's probably the only reason. Everybody, like, I don't know. I think Denzel Washington or somebody said, ease is the biggest impediment to progress. When you start taking things the easy way, is when progress actually stops. So there are tools available out there. So people think, let's just do it. Let's try it out the easy way. And Funnel did not take that approach. So that's one thing that we probably think maybe we would have grown faster. Maybe we would not have grown. Either ways, we would not know. The approach that we have today is staying true to the process. Right from creating the campaign cadence, we do not. It's more like a consulting role that our analysts play, where we sit with our customers, understand what they are going to market with. And a lot of times customers come across as, because Jyoti was in marketing, it didn't happen, but many customers that we speak to come across as people, they just want to say a lot of things about them, which does not probably make a lot of value. You just want to say what you want to say. But that is not the way. You need to understand, again, going back to what Regina said, you need to understand, are you trying to actually understand the challenge that the prospect is having, the customer is having? Are you trying to address that? Is there an issue that you're trying to solve? Is there a concern that the person might have engaging with you? Is there trust in the overall approach that you are taking to reach out to the customer? So putting all of that together is a little difficult, right? So that is why probably people are not doing it. Because otherwise, to me, it comes across, and to me, and quite a lot of our customers that we work with, it comes across as plain truth. Why do you want to do it that way, where you probably ruin your database and you probably get success for about 6 months? That's it. Funnel is working with customers for the last 10 years, where every month on month, we have been able to get 10-15 meetings for the last 10 years. And that is the power of this process. It is not like, you send a few emails for 6 months, I can give you something. And after that, I've given up on it simply because I don't have any more people to contact. No, that's not the way. We nurture, like, if somebody tells us at the beginning of January, come back to me in Q4, we don't disturb that person. We go back to that person in Q4 and then say, hey, you had mentioned that things would be looking different. Can we engage now and set up a meeting for you? Because, and these are the progress that our as a campaigner, this is what we have also made. So that is where I think most of the companies today are missing the bus. They probably want to approach it with ease.
So one last question before we conclude, Sanju. So what's the advice that you'll give B2B companies considering to outsource their sales? And they're hesitant to take the first step.
Stick to the basics, guys. Stick to the basics. Because if you don't stick to the basics, you'll not get the results that you desire. Especially for companies in the SMB sector, especially for companies that are not like the Microsoft of the world. Which brand is there? You have a lot of dollars to spend. companies which are, say, less than a $500 million. Most of our customers are in that range. Some of them are, of course, they've grown with us and become above 500. But those companies which are in the range of that $500 million, essentially should value the money that they spend. Instead of putting a lot of money into various other forums and not seeing results, putting money into something that actually can give them the sales meetings, because the definition of lead itself at Funnel is different. A lead is not somebody who just clicks on your website, downloads something. A lead is a context-aware meeting with a decision maker or influencer at the company that you wanted to meet, and a scheduled time of about 30 minutes. That is what is the definition of a lead for us is. It is not, okay, here is the contact, now go fend for yourself.
Jyoti, and
actually, you know what?
Yeah, go ahead, Jyoti.
Just on that, like Brad actually had a pretty good question. So, Brad, if you want to unmute, please go ahead. He put his question in the chat. I think this would be a good one for Sanju to take.
Yeah. So again, I joined minutes late. Thank you. Sorry about that. Just trying to understand. So Adonis Partners, where I work, is focused on continuous improvement in manufacturing, logistics, supply chain, et cetera, healthcare, other verticals. But is this solution good for a sale that's focused on helping a company reduce waste versus do we need to be selling software? That's my question.
Absolutely, Brad. In fact, Funnel works very well with customers like the ones that you mentioned in your chat. We have, in fact, quite a few customers who are into value chain, supply chain management, BCRB, all of that stuff, and not just software. We have customers in video production. We have customers. You name any industry apart from probably government. Funnel has. We've worked with probably more than about 300 odd customers, and we have active about 120 customers as we speak today. And they come from a multitude of industries, Brad. You tell me the industry, and obviously I probably can't expose my customers' names here. I can talk to you and exactly give you an example of that particular customer in that place.
Perfect. And I've got to jump to another call because they're waiting for me. But thank you very much. This has been great. And I will set up a follow-up demo for more than just me on my team. Thank you,
Brad. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Brad. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Brad.
So Jyoti, back to you. So what do you think? Is outsourcing the way ahead for the future of B2B lead generation?
Yeah, so let's cover the big elephant in the room is generative AI, right? So obviously with the work that we do, Sanju and I have had many conversations around, could AI replicate the process that they have, right? So let's break that down. So today's, generative AI with these large language models, AI-enabled automation, right? Could it replicate the human understanding of what a potential lead in the definition that Sanju described just a few minutes ago? Could it know with the signals, or is it just a parrot? There is a controversy around generative AI being scholastic parrots. There's an entire paper written on it, that they appear to be intelligent, but they are really just statistical models, okay? So in my view, I would not trust generative AI to do what Funnel does. And here's the reason why, because I know a little too much about the way the tech works, right? It has the ability to hallucinate. I'm sure everybody's been hearing about this issue, right? You do not want to take that risk when an email exchange is happening. And this is a pure email model that Funnel has, right? This could also be done on the phone. Many things are possible. So let's just focus on email. There is a way where the generative AI, at some point, depending on how the potential lead responds, could start to take a very different route. And unless a human is monitoring it, right? They talk about that, human in the loop issue. But if you're going to do this at this volume, right? And I'll give you back to the numbers again, okay? So when we switched to the $1 billion and above in revenue, we actually calculated. I asked Sanju and Shiva, I said, wait, how many people is that? right? Decision makers. And I think we looked at US.
Yes.
It was, I think, like 18 or 19,000 decision
that was a very interesting conversation.
19,000. Okay. So remember, we cannot have this conversation if we hadn't known what we didn't know before, right? Because this is an iterative conversation and thought process, and insight that we have. So I said, all right, so we have 19,000 decision makers. So let's try to break this down. Out of these 19,000 decision makers, not everybody is ready to buy just yet, right? That's point number one, which is why the cadence is there. Point number two is, even if you reach the right person, and remember, people are changing jobs. There's a massive, shift in job types, et cetera, happening. Those 19,000 are not static, right? So if you train the AI assistant to say, okay, here are your 19,000 decision makers, go have conversations to sell, let's make it up, the services that we do, right? We're a strategy and delivery company, and we have our own inference engine, by the way. We've just launched that based on open source models, and say now we are a product and services company, right? Go sell. If I let it just run by itself, it's still going to think about those 19,000. But in the meanwhile, those people are changing jobs. The company strategy is changing. What is high on the list is moving. How will the AI assistant know what's actually switching? Okay, so let's even take that step forward, right? LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is supposed to be where people's job changes and things like that happen, right? LinkedIn, I don't believe, provides those APIs. So there's a technical issue around that where they're protecting. Could they open it up? They could, but I don't think so, because they want to monetize their data, in-house. The human in the loop right now in Sanju's process goes and studies what they're talking about. If you fed, say even that was not an issue, right? Say LinkedIn gave you an API that says, hey, like Sales Navigator, which doesn't have this feature today, I believe. Go find out for these 19,000 decision makers, who is saying what. There's actually a company I'm going to talk to that is claiming to actually do that. And I want to see it in action to say, okay, let's take it that far. Okay, now send them an email, and it might go to Zoom Info and look at all the data and, is the email correct, and ping it and all that stuff. And you tell it, only send it 7, or 8, whatever touch points that Funnels model has. And you let this engine go. You let it run, okay? How do you know for the 19,000 that it's doing, because it can handle that scale, by the way. Today, if I were to put our model in place, we could do this, okay? Like I could say, I could break or replicate Funnels issue, but you know how many people I would have to hire to make sure that the conversation doesn't go sideways? Imagine it pulling racist jokes. Imagine, because you don't know what the potential lead at the other end is about to respond to the generative. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to trust that. So that means, all right, then should I have a human monitoring 19,000 conversations? How many people do you think you're going to need for that? So what are we back to? Like, why did we even get this, tool if to replace humans? Because remember, AI is all about this. There's a whole controversy around replacing jobs. And I've been talking about job replacement for the last 5 years, because once I saw what this was doing, I said, change is coming. So if you think about automation, yes, there are places where it's useful, but you can't let it run on its own, the unsupervised version, which is what people are doing today. Like with ChatGPT, have you guys seen all the lawsuits, the data security issues? Copilot is now banned in the US House of Representatives. There's a reason for that. You can't plug these massive models that have been built into doing work like what companies like Funnel do. So you say, okay, so now I have to spend money on this AI tool, and I have to hire people to oversee it. I'm thinking to myself, what's the point? We're talking about what are humans going to do? This is what humans need to do. Humans need to psychologically understand, yeah, can they use tooling to go, clean up their data faster? Yeah, but I would not trust putting AI directly in the line of dealing with a lead. And I'm saying this, I'm in the AI space, right? When I look at the tech and I go, there's no way I'm putting that in. Of course, I constantly push Sanju and think, Sanju, are you using technology at the back end that helps you scale? right? So we can add maybe more campaigners, things like that, right? But that is Sanju that is obviously looking at those toolings, but it's a tool at the back end, not the front end. And so you don't want to create another spamming issue. And those 19,000 conversations with AI, how fast will your domain get blacklisted? Think about that. Because now everybody has access to the same AI tool, everybody, which means the poor lead is going to get their inbox even more jammed, not just humans or CRMs sending you, but now AI assistants coming at you. And the people who are going to make those decisions, who in the human terms are aggressive in the spray and pray, will now bring that same mindset to when they use the AI. It's a question of mindset. Going back to what Sanju said, about 10 minutes earlier, about why people are still doing spray and pray. It's because people have a perception of marketing, which is another issue, right? It's like, okay, the first people to be fired in a company are marketing people. Why? Oh, you didn't bring the leads in, because they tend to think it's not part of your product. Marketing and branding are so blended, right? So you have to think about technology and put it where it belongs. For that, humans have to be the masters. This is what I talk about all the time. Right now, what the world looks like with generative AI on the loose is like generative AI is in control, right? And humans are just being reactive. You guys should watch Jon Stewart's latest Daily Show. He did a remarkable job in putting this in perspective. So watch that video, and it's on YouTube. And then come back to this question on, would you, in a case like this where Funnel's model is about humans first, humans are in control, would you put AI in its shoes? To me, it's a clear-cut story, but you've got to now see where humans belong. And this is absolutely one place you have to make sure humans are at the front end and AI or any technology and tooling is at the back end.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Jyoti, so much for your insights. Are there any closing remarks that you'd like to share, Sanju or Jyoti, or shall we? Because we've passed our time already, 13 minutes ahead.
No, the only thing I probably would want to add to what Jyoti said is that this is under the assumption that the 19,000 email addresses, AI has been able to get it right, which is again
correct.
Probably not possible. It's unless a deep research of the profile is done by a human brain. But there are add to that, there are certain places where yes, AI can help in the sense a quicker creation of understanding which links to look for, what kind of research to do. Yes, there is help there, but till we figure out, the process of sales still remains a human to humans in relationship, right? Especially in B2B.
I agree.
B2C probably is different. In B2B, it is a person buying from a person. It is not so much of anything else. So unless we are able to figure that at the very basic level, it's tricky.
Okay, Jyoti. So thank you so much for sparing your time, and Sanju too. I think it has been extremely rewarding, the entire conversation. So I need to revisit several times to actually grasp what Jyoti is saying. A few more things that I must have missed here and there. But Jyoti, it was fantastic. Just fantastic having you over. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for all our...
Thank you, Jyoti. It's such a pleasure to always be speaking with you. I look forward to a weekly call.
Same here. Great conversations, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all.
Thanks for hosting, Shashi.
Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you very much.